Hi, everyone. Welcome to Crown Pointers. It can be a massive hassle if you get infected with a computer virus. Not only that, but you can lose really precious files that can never be recovered. And one of the most insidious forms of infection is email spoofing. So today I'm going to talk to an expert in technology. It's Greg Glasgow, and he's the Chief Technology Officer of LANSolutions, and he's going to share with us how to spot a spoofed email so you can protect yourself. So welcome, Greg.
Thank you.
First off, what is email spoofing?
Well, email spoofing in the purest sense is an email that is received by that looks like it's coming from somewhere else.
So I had an example where someone thought that my email had been hacked or something and was sending out messages because they received a message with my name. And so they very politely contacted me to let me know I needed to address it. And when I talked to LANSolutions, it turned out that actually it was between some other parties. Can you explain a little bit more how that happens?
You could set up, like I could go to Gmail and set up a new Gmail account, and I could tell it that my name really is somebody else's name. I could put your name in there as the first name and last name. And so when they received an email from me, even though it would be from gregglasgow@gmail.com, the full name might still show up as Lisa Ligori. And there's really nothing that you can do about stopping me from doing that. So I could send it to a third party, and you could, just like you did, you heard that it came from your somebody told you that it came from you. The more sophisticated ones will have the actual email address correctly in there. And then that's how other systems can send out with other. It looks like the reply to address is, your real email address.
What do you recommend in terms of the best way to avoid it? We've all heard don't open an email from a name you don't recognize, but what if you do recognize the name?
Exactly. Well, from the end user standpoint, there's really not a lot that you can do against a well-crafted spoofed email. So what can you do? What can your company do as to protect against that? That's where there are certain techniques that can be done to block spoofed emails. So your email comes into your domain from a certain. If I send you an email, your email system is set to allow you to receive email that comes in, and it says, okay, well, I'll check a couple of different things on it, but for the most part, you're allowed to receive pretty much an email from anybody. If the email is coming in from the outside world and coming in with an email domain that is the same as your domain, that means it's what is considered an internally generated email. If it's coming in from the outside, that first places it under suspicion. So easy way to do that is to say, email system, don't accept any mail from anybody that's from Ligori email. Otherwise, and so we could just stop that. And that's an easy way to stop it, is just to say no outside emails coming from the domain Ligori can come in from the outside.
And for a user who's at home and doesn't have a business network that can have these precautions set up, is there anything that they can do to be on the alert and to spot that spoofed email?
It's not as easy to set up spoofing protections on a Gmail account, for instance. That the only way at that point is there are protections that Google puts into place for protecting against somebody setting up an account that has a name that looks like somebody else's. So they do something on that, but the only way really, again, is to hover over that email address, make sure that email and the name match up with what you expect them to be.
If somebody does open an email and it might be a spoofed email, at that point, are they already infected, or is it only when they click something in that email?
Yeah, you're not infected at all when you open an email generally. but there's the ways on the links, both the links as well as the email address. If there's a link in there, always hovering over that to kind of look and see what the source of it is. The other way to do it is to go and look at those accounts by not clicking on it. But if it's something coming from Amazon, go into Amazon and go to Amazon separately from the email. But those, it's always being aware of whatever the content is. But generally you're not going to be infected when you receive that.
I guess the safest practice would always be to contact the person who supposedly sent you something if you're not sure and say, did you send me a link, right?
Exactly. That's if there's any suspicion at all, that's the best way to do it, or to send them a separate email and say, did this really come from you? When you do reply to the email, it's possible that it could be sending it to an alternate email address. But or contact an IT provider that you trust that can help you.
Well, if somebody does open a suspicious email and does click the link, and now we're at the emergency stage where they might have been infected, will their virus protection take over from there? Are they covered, or what should they do?
Well, the problem is that antivirus, and it's unfortunate, but typical antivirus programs are going to catch about 10% of the malware that these types of events, 10%. So it does catch some things, if a certain document or whatever things, some really obvious things, but again, back to the sophisticated nature of a lot of these malware that gets put into systems goes right past the antivirus.
So then last but not least, in the worst case scenario, at that point, is it just contact some kind of tech support?
Yes, and it's interesting, one of the first things that we have a set of things that we do for when we see a malware attack is to try to identify and isolate. Those are the two main things that we want to do, is isolate that machine from doing any more damage to maybe something that's on a server or somewhere else, and isolate and identify who it is. Well, if you start to see your system act weird after you've clicked onto something, one of the things you can do is turn your system off or unplug it from the network, because that's when it's doing something, and so that's isolating it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the best thing to do, and then to call for help. So keep your system patched, have good backups, have good protection, both at in your email configuration as well as in your we'll call it firewall, that everything is that you're keeping that protected is the best thing you can do.
Well, that was a perfect summary, Greg. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for talking to everybody. We really hope that these tips are helpful for you.